Welcome to the Joy ASONYE show this beautiful evening. I am Joy ASONYE. Today we shall be focusing on the low representation of women in the 10th Assembly. The 25th elections that we had a couple of weeks ago showed 15 out of the 423 legislative seats declared are women. That's quite low considering that the 9th Assembly was well criticized, and yet we're also seeing a number that has dwindled. What is causing that, and how can we have a gender balance in the coming administration so that we have that representation that's needed to carry everyone along? That is what we'll be discussing on the program today. And to discuss all of this, we have Edith Bargoma. She's a business development and operations specialist with KAFTAN Services Limited. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. At this moment, we'll just go for a short break and return to discuss in earnest. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, like I said earlier, 15 out of 423 legislative seats declared so far are women, just 15. And my guests, I would just start with, I mean, we have just 2 seats in the red chamber, which is quite sad, considering all the noise of where political parties were screaming about giving the women in the party chances. They are going to even reduce the price for nomination forms. And why are we seeing this low turnout in our 10th Assembly? What would you say is the biggest reason for you?
Well, I mean, there's so many different reasons. First of all, the whole rhetoric about, oh, we're going to make the forms cheaper, or we're going to do this and that. It just is what it is, noise, right? I believe the legislation or the bill to give 35% was struck down, right? So if at that level where it's supposed to be happening, it was struck down, you can't really expect anything to change, right? You can't expect things to be different anytime soon. But there needs to be intention, right? There needs to be intention. But most importantly for me, I feel like we need to stop asking as women. We're always asking for permission. We're always asking to be given something. We're asking for equality instead of equity, right? We're asking for it to be given to us. We're asking for someone else to make the space for us. And we have stories upon stories that have shown us that a lot of this is rhetoric. There's a lot of talk, but there's no action from both sides, you know. But more than anything else, I would say from us women, we don't support each other. We don't back each other up. We don't help each other. We don't put ourselves in the places and the positions where we will be able to attain these positions or attain these votes. We're there on the grassroots, mind you. We're there on the grassroots doing the work.
Contrary to what a lot of people think, that women aren't even as grounded as they should be if they are seeking for these positions. But before you move ahead, you mentioned something really important. You said they are just rhetorics. And when you talk about equity, political parties would say, I mean, we gave them concession in the forms, the the forms seeking for the primaries rather. Now, what else would you have expected the political parties to do? They gave them forms that were cheaper, some 50%, yes. I don't know if you followed, some political parties gave 50%, others gave free for their female contestant or aspirant at the time. What would you expect political parties to do to reach, to have that equity and not just equality now, asking for equity? What else could have been done?
Well, dropping the price for women is not equity, right? It's not equity. It's a lack of preparedness on our part as women, and then the lack of space given to us. I find that politics in Nigeria is a do or die affair.
Right.
Right? So who do you expect to sit back? Which man do you expect to sit back and say, "Oh, I'm just gonna leave this for a woman. I'm gonna, leave be the one to sacrifice myself, the 35% for a woman." Right? So if we understand those basics, understanding that politics is, what's the word I want to use? It's a vicious game. Right? So women have to come prepared to play that game. We have to come prepared to play that game, and we have to a certain degree, take away the emotion out of it. Right? Take away the emotion out of it, understanding that it's a vicious game. It doesn't mean that we lose who we are. It doesn't mean that we stop being who we are, more caring and nurturing, but understanding what the game is and coming ready to play the game. Giving us a discount on the form means absolutely nothing if we're not prepared in the background, if we don't understand the way that politics works in Nigeria.
But who prepares the men? Who prepares the men? And like you say, it's quite vicious. I mean, it's all over the world. Politics is quite vicious, and people often go towards leadership positions with all their might. And maybe women are not. The kitchen is too hot for us. And as the saying goes, if it's too hot, leave the kitchen.
Not necessarily. We also have to look at culture and tradition, right? And I always say we women are the ones that carry the culture and tradition. It's in the way that we raise our children. It's in the way that we interact with each other. So we raise our children, for example, where the girls are raised to wash the dishes, clean the kitchen, learn how to take care of, their baby siblings, babysit, etc. While the boys are, you'll be sitting at a table and the girl will be told, pick up your brother's plate. And he's out there, being trained to be, a dominant figure, to be the man per se, while the woman or the girl child is being raised to be nurturing, caring, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But there has to be a shift in that. Both have to be treated the same. Both have to be trained the same. Okay, so I think that such a situation should start from a very young age. And then there's so many organizations that are actually working with women to train them, to understand the politics, to understand how politics is played. But it's, again, I repeat, it's very important to understand that our culture says that the man is the man. So they play politics is an old boys game, right? Regardless of what country you go to, for the most part, politics is an all boys game, or old boys game, I should say. And so there's a certain way that they think, there's a certain way that they act based on, culture, tradition, upbringing, expectation, direction, etc. So they play it according to that because they all understand that. So when you bring women in that have a different understanding or a different perspective or a different upbringing, it comes in like this. So it takes time to loosen these fists and interlock, the fingers in order to create space for women.
What's the biggest risk or danger for you when we talk about 15 out of 423 legislative seats? Women are women. What's the danger for you? Why are you concerned at all?
Yes and no. I mean, 10 years ago, how many women were in the red chamber?
Right.
Right? In the green chamber. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, yeah, how many women were there? It's not something that's going to happen overnight.
But
right?
we're seeing a dwindled number. I mean, the Ninth Assembly had more women in the legislative seats than even the 10th Assembly. Is it a trend we should start getting used to? Is this something that should concern us?
Trends go up and down.
Right.
Right? Trends go up and down. We don't have a long enough history to be able to have precedence to look back on and say, okay, this, you know, in retrospect, this is what's going on. So like I said, trends go up and down.
Right.
So we have to be intentional on taking note of what is actually happened, what happened previously, what's currently happening, what's currently happening, and then take notes from that. Create some kind of a historical archive where every time election, when it's time for election, or when it's time to start preparing for campaigning, or when we're in our various organizations, when we are training the girl child or the woman to consider going into politics, we know what to train them on. We know we have a historical precedence to say, okay, this was how it was in the past, so this is what we need to do in order to change things, to make things different. So, and then of course, I mean, the dynamics of the country and the way things are right now, there isn't really much of a surprise that, you know, the number of women in office or running for office has gone down.
Right, but you just mentioned that you're not necessarily very concerned about the outcome of or the success of the 10th Assembly. Why aren't you? You said you're not so concerned.
I said yes and no, and the reason I gave is, like I said, we don't have a historical precedence to really gauge why things are not going up.
So do you believe it would affect representation of women related issues?
Oh, absolutely. Hasn't it always?
I mean, it has.
It's not new.
But this is the contemporary. We like to think that this is the contemporary Nigeria, where we expect that there are several issues Nigerian women still face that should not even be a conversation any longer.
The United States just overturned Roe versus Wade. And the U.S. is one of the most developed, if not the most developed countries, and the most enlightened country in, you know, in the modern world, let me put it that way. And they overturned Roe versus Wade, right? So regardless of the number that we have, you know, it's not about, again, we're talking about trend, we're talking about learned lessons, right? What are we learning? We shouldn't look at other people and say, oh, but they're doing this or they're not doing this. Or even if we want to look at that, right? Again, we go back to somewhere like the US where they overturned Roe versus Wade. There are a lot of women in political office. There are unfortunately not as many in the Supreme Court, but there are a lot of women in political office. But again, we go back to playing the game, right? It's a compromise. It's a compromise. So when you're advocating for this versus advocating for that, it's not the same as being on the grassroots and being able to do things the way that you want to do them or the way that you see it needs to get done. So progress takes time, and we shouldn't rush it. Right? I would love to see half the red chamber and half the green chamber with, you know, women. Right. I would love nothing more than that. But we don't want to rush it to the point where we're not learning as we go along. Because if we're not learning as we go along, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to repeat the same mistakes.
So the new administration would come on the 29th of May this year. What would you say if you have to advise the president-elect or those in the cabinet, just to have that gender balance? What would your suggestion be? I mean, the legislatives, that's done with at the moment, but there are other appointments within the within governance that could actually make impact.
Well, the president-elect and his party had a very large number of women campaigning.
They did.
You know,
they had a wing even. They had
standing for him and his vice presidential candidate, right? So I'm hoping that he sees that. I'm hoping that he recognizes that, and I'm hoping that he appreciates that by appointing more women in his cabinet and other important ministerial or political office posts, appointments, right? And the fact that his wife is a senator, correct? If I'm not wrong, his wife
is a senator.
Yeah, his wife is a senator, and in his campaign, he spoke a lot about her, how they mesh together, how they work together. So I would like to think that he is very aware, that he is enlightened with regards to that, and I would hope that he sees this as an opportunity to appoint more women,
right,
in office. And his wife not being, forgive me for saying this, a regular everyday woman, but having been in the positions that she has been in, I'm hoping that she will use this opportunity to uplift women, to bring more women into, the political realm, into future opportunities to run for office.
Now, do you see the conversation of affirmative action coming back in this 10th Assembly, even with the sparse number of women in the House?
Honestly, I don't know. And I don't know if I want to make a guess. I would love to see it happen. Let's continue having the discussion. I think that if the discussion comes back, if there's an opportunity to put it back on the table to vote on it, I'm hoping that with this new administration and its influence and its experience of having women support in such large numbers, that they would lobby and ensure that this bill passes. Because I think that the key thing is, if the bill passes, right, then you will have more women interested, because now they will know that there are seats that are actually allocated to them, right? So that's the equality part.
Right.
It's still not equity, right? Because it's almost as if it's being given. So something that is being given can be taken away.
Exactly.
Can be taken back. Create an equal playing field. Create an equal playing field. That, to me, that's most important.
Are women asking for an equal playing field, or we are asking for a certain field that is peculiar to our dynamic challenges?
I think we're asking for equality. I think and that's the key word, we're asking.
We should stop asking.
Stop asking. You know what you want. You know what our challenges are. We know what our challenges are. We know what we want, and we know what it will take to get there. So we do it. We do it. We just go and we do it. We support each other. And that's a key thing that I want to mention. We as women, we don't support each other as much as we should.
Right.
We don't. Imagine if we actually supported each other the way that we should. We may not necessarily even need for anyone to make room for us, right? We may not necessarily need anyone to make room for us. We will automatically be making inroads and actually get into political position and political posts. But again, at the same time, when we get into it, what do we do? Right? Where the women that have been in office thus far, what are the achievements that they have? What can we see
exactly.
and say that they have done?
Especially when it comes to mentoring others.
When it comes
as
to
well.
mentoring, when it comes to bringing someone up, when it comes to speaking out on the floor, how far have we gotten? Yes, there are obstacles. Yes, there are things that stand in the way. Yes, we're being told to stay in the background. But you worked hard to get to where you're at. You shouldn't be told to sit in the background and not speak and not continue to be an advocate.
Now we have, coincidentally, today is the International Day for Female Judges as well. And earlier I was having a conversation and talking about how we don't have enough female judges. And you mentioned something quite interesting. We should start giving our best to achieve what we want and not just sit back and ask. But when we look into politics, that stereotype, that the speculation that women are usually too soft or are not as vicious as the men, and often it is also alleged that women do not have that will to get things done as fast as a man would have. Do you think it has collectively affected the participation of women in leadership roles?
Yes, it has, but it's a mindset.
Right.
It's not reality. What's the saying?
It's cute how you just took a deep breath to continue.
What's the saying about I think it's you catch more bees with honey than with vinegar,
right,
or something like that. I probably have butchered the saying. There's nothing wrong with being who we are. We've acknowledged, we have acknowledged that politics is a vicious game. Fine. We know that. And some of us know some of the ins and outs, with the way that the game is being played. So now how do we use who we are inherently in order to be able to overcome, in order to be able to get a seat at the table? Excuse me, in order to be able to take a seat.
Take a seat at the table.
At the table, right? So there's also a saying as something to the effect of, when you know something or when you know someone, then you know how to work with them or you know how to work around them.
Right.
Right? So after we acknowledge that, yes, politics is a vicious game, is a dirty game, then what? Now we know. Now we know the intricacies of how it works. Now, how do we use what we have, the skills and the knowledge and the prowess that we have to be able to get that seat, to take that seat at the table? We don't need to change who we are.
Of course.
We can change the game. We have everything that it takes to change the game. We don't have to.
Do we know that we can change the game?
That's the key. We have to know that we have the capability to change the game.
Okay, well, I think this is a good time to go for a short break. We are still discussing low representation of women in the 10th Assembly and achieving gender balance in the new administration. We'll be right back on the program. This is still Joy ASONYE Live.
While wrapping up the day, unwind with the reminiscence of the day's news from home and abroad with KAFTAN TV 7 p.m. News.
Good to have you join us on KAFTAN News at 7.
Nigerians are living in Africa. 5% are young people. We broadcast the Harmony Symphony.
It's good to have you join us on KAFTAN TV News at 7.
We found that the 10 naira card was not actually sufficient.
National, foreign news headlines. Get balanced, accurate facts on the latest news in business, politics, entertainment, sports, and more. Live
at
from
City
our
Purpose.
studios.
Many thanks for watching. And join us again at 9
KAFTAN
p.m.
TV
all prime time.
News.
In a world where information is vital to every individual, a platform where technology is a medium to pass information, you can always catch up on all information written in the newspapers, even without having one. Join us on The Press.
Reaching you live from the Abuja studio.
On the Punch for this morning, the Blueprint newspaper, Nigerian Tribune this morning.
As we give you information and opinions about current events and topical issues on politics, business, sports, entertainment, weather forecasts, and lots more in the local city, across all states, and across all countries. Showing daily on Startimes, channel 124, 9 a.m. West African time, only on KAFTAN TV. Stay connected with us on our social media handles.
I pursue the federal government to pay us our damage.
YouTube, KAFTAN TV.
A very tricky one. And then the bottom line is this.
Website www.kaftan.tv.
Point is, the youth must come together. The pendulum can swing in your favor.
Instagram, KAFTAN_TV. KAFTAN TV. Imagine a beautiful world.
Welcome back. We're still discussing with Edith Bargomer, Business Development and Operations Specialist, KAFTAN Services Limited. We've been discussing the low representation of women in the 10th Assembly and achieving gender balance in the new administration. So my next question will be how we can get young people to move above the cultural strings that are pulling them down, to understand that they can indeed achieve whatever they want, so that we do not get a house that has just two women in the red chamber moving forward. Like you said before the break, you said if we don't do anything intentionally now, in 10 years it will even be worse, and we are raising a generation of young people who are already feeling like the men can go ahead. I as a woman should just stay back home. So what would be your thoughts on how we can cascade this down to young people?
As I said during the break, we have to be intentional. We can't just be walking around and hoping that something will happen or waiting for someone else to do it. As I've said a few times already, we have to be intentional. We have to take it.
Right.
In order to do that, we have to build the grassroots. Right? It's in training, intentional training, training young people, even the boys. You know, the UN has the he for she initiative, right, where you have men that advocate and stand for women. We have a lot of them here. We recently had yesterday, actually, for the International Women's Day. Yeah, we had a conference call with our organization, the Women's Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Right. We had quite a few men on there that, gave, some very vital information, gave their input and what they're doing to support women. We have so many organizations, grassroots organizations, that are intentionally working towards building a better future for both, men and women, or children, for all children. We even have our Nigeria Young Women's Political Forum, NYWPF, where on that forum, in that organization, we focus on training women and raising women, bringing them up to become political, juggernauts, if I may use that term, to run for office, to participate in political activities that can eventually lead to them running for office, getting, appointments, ministerial appointments or other political appointments. So everything has to be with intention. Right. If you want it to happen, you have to go out and make it happen. You can't sit back and expect that it's just going to magically happen, or someone is going to give up their position.
And nobody ever does that.
No one is going to do that. So it's, the saying that may the best man win. In this case, we can say, may the best woman win.
You have mentioned, I was very careful to listen to all the organizations you mentioned, and it was more of private sector and non-governmental organizations. What intentional policies would you want the government to put in place just so that we have that leadership and leadership seminars, or I'm not sure if you say initiatives, rather, leadership initiatives targeted at women, because it's quite a dire situation where we do not see as much women thriving in those sectors, especially in the public sector. What would you say the government can do in that respect?
I want to say that we have a bad habit of relying too much on the government.
Right.
Everything that happens, everything that we think, everything that is said always reverts back to the government. Government is not, that's really not their job. Where I would say government comes in is provide the funding. Make it easier to get access to funding. Because, of course, funding for government comes from taxpayer money.
Of course.
So taxpayer money is supposed to be used to supplement or fund programs that advance the society, right? So partner with these organizations. If these organizations come to you as a senator, as a representative, as a justice, as a minister of whatever, right? Be open, be willing. Don't put so many obstacles in place and say you have to do this, you have to do that, you have to reach here, you have to reach there before we can even consider working with you. No. Be intentional, be thoughtful, Open the door. Right? Open the door and allow us to come in. Allow, if NYWPF says, okay, Minister of Humanitarian, we want to do a program on service, humanitarian service in XYZ community. Open the door. Give them the necessary resources and opportunities to do those things, to achieve those programs, and help them provide the training or the necessary, again, resources that they need to do this.
Okay.
Don't be the one to put obstacles in the way.
Of course.
Yeah. Be the one that opens the door and say, okay, come on. Because if you do that, we as Nigerians, we don't need a whole lot. We really don't need a whole lot, I believe. And the way that I've seen us do or be, we just need that open door.
Yes.
And if that open door is given where we can interact with our government, we will do the rest.
I like that you said we just need that open door. But do you think that Nigerians, young Nigerians still have their priorities right? I am saying this because I've also communicated with people, even the NGO space, the humanitarian space, where they tell you there were these opportunities for young ladies to harness and they were nowhere to be found. But these are young people that when you come into in the entertainment, we are quick to be in that space. But when you want them on more serious careers, more resources that would guide them towards what could even give them that opportunity, you don't see them as much. Do you agree?
Not everyone can do everything. Okay, not everyone can do everything. That is different people, different things that make the world go round.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. We're more inclined towards the entertainment, but that's any youth in the world.
Right.
It's
but
not
however,
synonymous to Nigeria.
When there is an opportunity, the access is probably there for everyone. We don't see women take charge and run towards it as much as the boys.
Access is not, I disagree. The access is not open to everyone in the Nigerian society.
It's not?
No. When opportunities come up, especially the juicy ones, you see that people are lobbying to get themselves in. And if you don't have the right connection, if you don't have the right person in the right place, if you don't have the money to pay to get in, you don't get in. Especially in these government programs. When you have government programs that come up,
a lot of lobbying has to
a
go
lot of lobbying takes place, and then you
agree.
end up having people who actually don't, not that they don't need it, but they have the opportunity already. Without that, let's say, government partnership or funding, they come from a well-to-do background, or they have access to excellent education and opportunities, right? Those are the ones that you will see vying for those, the little resources that are available for these things that should be taken to the grassroots, to the local communities, where women, girls should be pulled from these local communities. You'll see it's those who already have the opportunity, those who are already there that are doing these things, So how do you want a girl from, let's say, my local government, Igabi in Kaduna, to compete with, someone that is in a higher place when these opportunities come and she or he are vying for the same thing that is supposed to be for someone that has not had the same opportunity as they have, because my dad has the money to pay for me to get into that position, or he has the right connection to put me in that position.
So are we seeing parents look towards the boy child more in this 21st century, this contemporary Nigeria? Are we still seeing parents who say, you know what, this opportunity has landed here, so let me look at the boy to get access to this opportunity before thinking about the girl?
Yeah, it's because we're still, again, culture, tradition, religion. It is our orientation.
Right.
And it's going to take a long time to undo those ties, while still having it, but at the same time also, interacting in a way that will advance the girl child, right? So we're still tied to those things. So automatically, in a lot of cases, not always, not all the time. I mean, I've seen at the grassroots level, I've seen things happening. More and more women are rising up, speaking out, advocating, fighting, pushing. I'm seeing more of that at the grassroots. We have really phenomenal women who are doing all this work right here in Nigeria and in all over the world. But we still have that inherent culture, tradition, religion that, makes us pause, and then revert back to the old ways. Exactly. But, when we catch ourselves, we change. It's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. But like I said, we have to be intentional about it.
Okay, so if you have to look at all the women in Nigeria who have had the opportunity to handle leadership roles, would you say they have been outstanding and been distinctive in the way they have done their job in that regard, which would give way to younger people to toe that line? Because we are often called very emotional. Would you say it reflects in how you've watched those who have the opportunity, however little they might have been?
Absolutely. Like I said, there are so many women who are selflessly pushing and going out of their way to, you know, make change and be the change, right? There's so many of them. For every opportunity, for every place that a woman is, we don't know what it took for her to get there.
Exactly.
And there are so many elements that are fighting against her. The women who are in higher positions now, I see them as trailblazers. They took the risk, some at the cost of their lives, at the cost of their families' lives. They took the risk and they trailblazed. Exactly. Right? Exactly. So they are trailblazers just by the fact that they have gotten to where they have gotten to, right? Like if someone like my CEO of WCCI, Ambassador Zainab, I mean, I've known her for over a decade, and I've never seen that woman sit down and sit back quietly, you know? So there's so many women who are doing so many things, and every step that we take, every achievement that we make is a big deal, especially in the type of society that we're in. It's a big deal. And even if it looks like we're taking a couple of steps back, trust and believe there are girls out there that are looking and saying, oh my gosh, if she can do it, I can do it. So that step that was taken by any particular woman to create that space, that opening, there'll be another girl behind her that will pick up from there and take it to the next step. It's all about intention. What's the saying? Rome was not built in a day.
Exactly.
Right? But it was intentionally built. And I think that's the most important thing that I can say. You have to be intentional.
Okay, let's go back to a conversation we didn't really speak about in-depthly, which is the women supporting women. I mean, when we hear a man come out to contest for elections, for instance, we see so many women quick to rally around this man. But we don't see that when a woman is also coming out as well. So what do you think should be done in terms of orientation? Is that what you would suggest? Or what can these women who are vying for political positions do to be more relatable? Is that even a thing, to be more relatable to women who should already feel relatable to, you know? So what would be your suggestion? Because it's quite important. Women are the ones who are at the forefront of campaigns, who actually would queue in all the kind of temperatures you can think of, rain and shine, whatever it is, to exercise their vote. And yet they also see the man as the leader who can take us there, and do not take women as seriously as they should.
For me personally, if I see a woman running for office, automatically I support her. And I want to be careful to say unless she just demonstrates whatever behavior. I want to be careful in saying that. But for me, automatically, I support her.
Right.
Because for her to even get to the point where she's doing this, having the confidence and the alpha personality to even get to this point, it's a great achievement. So me personally, she has my support, regardless of what party she's running under, regardless of where she comes from, regardless of what religion she practices. She gets my support automatically.
If you look at this, the last polls we had, I mean, we had a female presidential candidate in the race. And for some of us, I'm a journalist, and I can tell you, I was excited. I'm a female journalist, and I was really excited to have a woman in the ballot. And so I wanted to push her narrative forward, and other women as well. I must also tell you that it is not as easy if you approach a man for an opportunity to come speak about his ambition and blueprint and action plan. They are very quick to come out. And I am telling you, as a woman who supports women, that we don't see that in our candidates. Even when they have gone through all the hurdles to emerge as candidates, we no longer see them. It's like they have already designed their fate not to be heard, not to get there. So what would you say the reason is?
They didn't design their fate to not get there. Remember, we've talked about politics is vicious. We've talked about, men are loud.
Yes, they are, but
they're
that's
loud.
what it takes.
So, and we've already raised them from boyhood to be the man, and our idea of being the man is stripping them of, the necessary emotional, if I may use that term, understanding or perspective, because, they're just supposed to be just straight, like this, right? Then you bring that attitude, that behavior into politics. And then there's one or two women in there. So naturally, they're going to be overshadowed to a certain perspective because of their loudness. It's not, I'm sorry to say, it's not necessarily because they know better or anything like that. That's not the case.
They just know how to be heard.
They know how to be heard, right? So I like Proverbs a lot, if you've noticed. What's the one that says, the race is not to the swiftest, right? So it's not so much in your projection, voice projection, physical projection. You can say in very few words something that will completely change the world.
Exactly.
You can do just a simple action that could completely change the country.
Exactly.
Right? So, as I said before, there's nothing wrong with being who we are. We just have to understand ourselves, who we are, and how we can use that to our advantage.
So how would you suggest that it could have been used to their advantage? When they are right there, they could have been a little, I don't want to use the word loud. They could have been heard a bit more. They could have had more consultations. Now, I'm not even talking about finances, which a lot of people would say holds some women back. I'm just talking about that will. Are we lazy people? I don't get it sometimes when I don't see that. I see a man ready to go do consultations here, to go get to the creeks even, to just to get that engagement with people in the community, but I don't see that a lot in women. Is it that we are afraid after thinking, believing in ourselves enough to pick up that form to say, I want to run? They probably have the best intentions. And even if they do not have the best intentions, they are relatable to the plight of the people more. As mothers, naturally, that is how we are. So it concerns me a lot when I don't see that them as pushy as they should be.
We need to get pushy.
Right.
But not necessarily to be like the men.
No, not necessarily to be like men.
I'm not a mother, but I remember my mother, she will say, if she says something, she said it. I obey, I follow.
Exactly.
She doesn't have to yell and scream off the top of her lungs.
In fact, she gives you a look and you already know.
She gives you a look and you already know what the deal is.
Exactly.
And you know not to deviate.
Exactly.
Correct? So, and I'm sure men will say the same thing when they were growing up. Their mothers, their grandmothers, their aunties, when they say something, they listen, they follow. They don't think any other way or any other thing. So how do we use that to our advantage? Right? How do we use that to our advantage? Again, I will say there's nothing wrong with who we are. How do we use who we are to our advantage to take the necessary steps to get us into these political posts and positions? right? How do we use that?
Well,
we have to figure out.
What would you say often keeps us back? You know, when the men are out there consulting and engaging, and what would you say keeps the woman back? Is it home demands, family demands, cultural demands, or the stereotype that we don't want to get our hands dirty?
All of those things that you named. All of those things that you said, yes. From stigma to cultural demands to religious demands to nurturing demands, whatever you want to call it, all of those things. And then on top of that, finances, right? But if you look at the underlying reasons for us not having finances, it goes back to those things that, yes, right? That. Because that's not the role of the woman, right? I'm putting that in quotes. That's not the role of the woman. So why would you waste your money on a woman when she's supposed to be in the house? This is where other women come into it. This is where it's extremely important for other women to come into it, because you'll find that in a lot of homes the women control the purse.
They do,
right? They control the purse, you know. So if we take a few steps back to figure out what those things are, to figure out how to get support from our fellow woman, you know, to figure out how to overcome those cultural nuances or traditions, you know, etc., then we will be able to efficiently and effectively strategize in order to stand out during these political campaigns and elections, so on and so forth. Again, it requires support primarily from women, for other women, but it also requires support from our male counterparts that, you know, will stand up for us, stand on the podium and say, I support this woman.
Right.
Not just speak, you know, behind
lip service.
Yeah, and say, but to actually stand up and say, I support this woman.
Okay. Now the new administration would soon come on board. What would be your suggestion as to what can be done now so we do not see these numbers and statistics we are reeling out today? What can we start doing now against the 4 years when we would go to the elections again?
I think we've touched a little bit on that. Give women political appointments. There are more than enough qualified women.
Right.
There are more than enough qualified women. Give them a chance. I know I spoke about equity versus equality and so on and so forth. You know, don't just sit there and wait for it to be given to you and all. We've spoken about that, but immediate action, give women the opportunity.
No, I'm even focusing on those who might have ambition to run in 4 years when we will go back into the elections right now. So what can these women who might be listening to you right now, what should they start doing today? It's never too early when it comes to politics,
it's never too early. Find organizations that support women. Find women organizations or organizations that support women, not just women organizations. Get involved at the grassroots. Get to know your community, your constituency. Get to know what the issues of your constituency is, your people on the ground that your policies will eventually impact, or the policies are impacting, right? I can never overemphasize the importance of working at the grassroots. Because supposedly it's the people that will vote, right? So if you're not working at the grassroots, if you don't know your constituency, what the issues are of the people that you eventually want to represent, how can you effectively represent them?
You're right. Edith Bagoma, I apologize. Edith Bagoma, I must thank you for being part of the program.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. This is where we would roll the curtain here on Joy ASONYE Live. Have a wonderful weekend, as we'll be back next week. Do have a wonderful day.